Now this is brand new from Kodak. The design is modeled after the classic original 1963 Kodak Instamatic 100. Has some great similarities. Check this out. Wow. Whoa. This camera takes 35mm film, and the instructions recommend 200, 400, or 800 ISO 35mm film. My recommendation is to shoot 200 ISO. This is a focus-free camera. It has a 31mm fixed focus lens. There's no focusing involved. This is for show. There's nothing going on here. This button pops up your flash, which will charge up when you pop it up. When you put your flash away, you will not be charging the battery. The battery, which does not come with the camera, is on the side. Whoa.
Kodak.
On the top of the camera, here is the light that goes on when your flash is charged. Here is the amazingly small frame counter. It tells you how many exposures you shot. Here is your shutter button. Here is the winder to rewind your film back. Now there's a roll of film in this camera, so I'm going to show how to eject a roll of film when you're done shooting in a second. This is the button you press to rewind the film manually back into the cassette before you take your film out of the camera after shooting it. And here is the back of the camera, the wind, which I'm going to show you, the compartment that holds your film. This is a test roll. So film is light sensitive, which means once you load the film into your camera, do not open the back of your camera until you finish the roll and roll the film back into its cassette. The cassette protects your film from light. This goes into your camera, and then you will not see your pictures, of course, until you send your film to be developed and printed or scanned. I just finished shooting a roll of 160 ISO film. So when you're done shooting, you press this button on the bottom. Hear that click?
Mm-hmm.
You have to press that button on the bottom, because if you don't, and you try to wind your film back into the cassette without pressing the button, you will just break this. This whole camera, as you can see, is made of plastic, and I cannot stress enough that if you treat this camera right, gently, it will last a really long time. If you are harsh, if you don't follow directions and don't press this button, you will break it probably within 30 seconds.
And then leave a review that it's junk.
Yeah.
Because it's your fault.
We press the button. Now we need to follow the arrows and rewind the film back into the cassette after shooting your roll.
Very exciting.
Now, as you're doing this, try to become one with your camera. You could feel the... oh boy.
See? See what happens when you're not one?
If you do what I just did, it's no big deal. The button is still pressed, no problem. You just pick it up. There you go. You feel the film going back into the cassette, and you'll feel when it's like kind of done. Oh, there it is. Then you take this gently, pop it up like that. Open the back right here. Perfect. Let's start from the beginning. You want to load some film into it. First thing you do is lift this gently, open the back. A common question, and this is important to test your camera. Let's say you want to test your camera to make sure it works. And you can do this very simply, and this applies to any Instamatic camera. To test, you just with your hand gently turn this knob to the right. Did you hear that click?
Mm-hmm.
Now the shutter is cocked, and now you could do a test shot. Watch the shutter. Ooh! Did you see that? Let's say you want to test your flash. Press the flash. Flash is charged. It's a fresh battery, that's why. You need to cock the shutter by turning this wheel. You hear that? Now watch. Wow! Flash works. Here is the compartment where your film goes. Once your film is in there, you can close this. Be gentle. It'll kind of just fall into place. You take your film, and there are little, you see there are little nubs, and that's going to grab on your film as you try to load it, and you load it this way. So you put your film over here on the nubs. The most common problem with plastic cameras is misloading. And you need to be confident that you've loaded it properly. So the nubs on the hub here have grabbed the film. The nub here is also properly, do you see that? Properly placed to grab your film. So now you could gently close the back and you could proceed to wind. It will stop by itself. Ah, hear that? You could feel the fact that it's pulling film and that it's properly loaded. Holy smokes. That is an indicator.
Now you know you loaded it right.
Can you see the numbers here?
Yes.
It starts at S for start. And you bring it, what's it say now? Number 1? Now we're at number 1. We're ready to take our picture. So if you're shooting indoors, always use the flash, please. When you're winding and shooting, try not to go past the number of exposures that you have for fear of pulling the film actually out of the spool. You don't want to do that. That's really it. Well, what is the f-stop? What is the shutter speed? Right here is the Kodak specs, which are right on the Kodak website, and also on the Film Photography Project store site, where you can actually purchase this problem.
Hilarious.
It's a toy camera. It takes great shots for snapshots, and if you treat it right, it'll last a long time. If you're rough with it, it's gonna break immediately. Now, Kodak is recommending 200, 400, or 800. 400 probably can handle it okay. This is just like completely out of the question. 31mm lens, fixed, f10, that's the aperture, fixed. Shutter speed, 1/125th of a second. So these are the two key things. I took the old Goss and Luna Pro outside. Shutter speed is 1/25th of a second, right under 1/25th of a second, f10, there it is. Look at the ISO. Back in the day it was called ASA. ISO 50. So technically speaking, you could shoot 50 ISO film in this camera, no problem. Like Ilford Pan F in blazing sunlight, terrific. Now, if you want to use 100 ISO film, you'll be overexposing by 1 f-stop, according to the beautiful Goss and Luna Pro light meter. If you're using 200 ISO film, you're overexposing by 2 f-stops. Now, for negative film, this is perfectly fine. And even a roll of like Ektachrome color slide film, 100 ISO, I think you'll be fine. But once you start drifting into like ISO 400, now you're 3 stops overexposed. ISO 800, 4 stops overexposed. And that's it. That's the Kodak i60 camera problem. It's a lot of fun. They're super popular. It's brand new. It's at the FPP store. Thanks so much. Leave your comments down below or send an email, michael@filmphotographyproject.com. Thanks to by the way, this was recommended. One of our YouTube viewers said,
"Hey, why don't you guys do a review of the Kodak i60?
I didn't even know this camera existed. So thank you so much. We were able to find the camera here in the US, and lickety-split, it's in the FPP Online Store. So, hey, thanks. See you soon.
Oh, my God.